Hey there, Laurel here. Thanks for joining me today. Today I have a super fun color bursted camera card to share with you all today. These stamps are from the Honeybee Stamp Company. I'm guest designing for them, and I've got a video to go along with this card. I'm using this Camera Love stamp set here, and I've got a piece of watercolored cardstock and a mirror, hello, a ruler. Oh, jeez. Coffee. Calling all coffee. And I just drew a line, diagonal line down the card base there because I needed a straight line so I could figure out how to line up all the little cameras from the stamp set. Now in a second, my caffeine's going to kick in. I'm going to grab my Misty because I should have been using that all along anyway. And I'm just being careful not to let those magnets touch because good God. I've lost some fingers, I thought almost, just about when those magnets touch each other. Anyway, so I'm lining up all of the cameras there onto my little line there. Then I'm going to press the door of the Misty and pick up the stamps. I'm going to ink it up with some white pigment ink from the Ton, but before I go any further, I realized I didn't use my embossing buddy here. So I went ahead and applied that. That's a little powder that puts down because I only want my embossing powder to stick where my stamped images are. And if I didn't use that, I'd have stray embossing powders all over the place. And that does not work for me. I don't like the strays. So now I'm going to sprinkle on some white embossing powder here. I'm sorry I went off camera a little bit. I went out of frame. And then I will go ahead and zap that with my heat tool to heat set that. Now anytime you put embossing powder down, the inks over the top will resist the embossing powder. So that's why I'm doing this, because I'm going to go in with some color burst in a little bit, and I wanted to make sure that the outlines of my images and the sentiment I'm about to stamp, they don't get kind of muted down by adding color over it. So by using this embossing, this heat embossing, it's going to resist the watercolors that I'm going to put down over the top. So I grabbed that same sentiment from the same stamp set that I'm using actually, and inked that up with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which again is a pigment ink, so I'll sprinkle on some clear embossing powder and heat set that. I don't use black embossing powder ever. I've actually thrown all my black embossing powder away. I don't know what it is, but it gets everywhere for me. I just don't understand. So this is how I do all my black embossing now. VersaFine ink, clear embossing powder. All right, then I went ahead and erased that little invisible line there. And now I'm going to add the color burst. So I'm working with the chartreuse, turquoise, violet, and whatever color that orange was. And my intent was to put little tiny dabs of powder in each of the cameras. But when I got to the turquoise and the violet, you're going to see it all was sitting in the top of the cap, and boop, it just fell out all over the place. Now because I hadn't added any water and there's absolutely no moisture on this card yet, I'm able to take a dry paintbrush and kind of sweep that up where I wanted it to be, because my goal was to kind of keep all the color bursts contained around the cameras. So here's where the card comes to life. I'm taking a Perfect Pearls mixture. You can use regular water if you want, but I wanted the shine from the Perfect Pearls, and I am spraying it very, very close. I did that because I wanted the pressure from the spray to actually create a little mist around the cameras as well. And I still wanted to contain it all within the camera area, and I think I was able to pull that off quite nicely, patting myself on the back that I didn't get all that all over my card. And then because I have no patience whatsoever, I'm going to go ahead and zap that with my heat tool. And you can see the colors do mute down a little bit once they're dry, but not too much. So these powders are very powerful, very pigmented, and a little bit goes a long way. And now you can pick up the shine from that Perfect Pearls, hopefully. And now it's just time to go ahead and just assemble this to a card base. I've grabbed a top folding black card base here, A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Because I did some watercoloring, or not water, and heat embossing, my card panel got really warped. So I'm using this super strong double-sided tape. This is score tape. And put it all along the back side of this panel, and then I'll adhere it down to my card base, and that's going to be it. I took an hour one day a couple weeks ago and trimmed down a whole bunch of colored cardstock and scored it. So I have all these card bases scored and folded and ready to go. And I can't tell you how much of a time saver that is when I'm making a card. It's awesome. So here's a look at the finished card today. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm getting ready to prepare, not exactly sure when this video is going to go up, to be honest, but I think by the time it does, I will be getting ready to prepare, if not already en route to my move up north. This Florida gal who has lived here all her life and is very close to her family and has never lived more than 25 minutes away from her mama and daddy, that is true, is moving up north 1,200 miles away. So Need I say any more? So I might be MIA for a little while I get settled and, go see my shrink. But I'm around, so don't leave me. I'll be back. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me today, and I will catch you next time.